Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever or whoever you may be. I'm Alan Arante, and this is the Recluse podcast. Today's guest is Crash Barbosa. He is a rapper and lyricist who engages regularly in political discourse. He has a large following on Instagram and is an influencer to some degree. Crash and I went to school together. We have mutual friends. We bumped into each other over the years many times. It's always interesting to run into him and talk to him. He is someone that I think is easily misunderstood. I think his confidence can sometimes read as arrogance, but in this conversation, I was humbled to learn how insightful he is. His heart is in the right place, and he's a person that really seems to care. He's a person who is passionate about the world's state of affairs. I do have to note, however, in this conversation that the audio is somewhat fuzzy. It was conducted on a Podbean live forum, and for some reason my mic kept cutting out like frequently. Like every time I spoke, it cuts out and it doesn't sound very good. So I did snip a few of the worst fuzzy parts out, and I don't think Crash's points suffered as a result of that. And because it was in a live forum, I was also replying to people who were in the chat room. So on occasion, you will hear very loud, aggressive keyboard strokes. And frankly, I'm embarrassed because of that. I couldn't hear myself during it, so I didn't realize how bad it was. But I consider it a lesson learned. Anyway, as you will see in this conversation, Crash is loquacious and passionate. I am pleased to add this conversation to my library of dialogues. People of the world, this is a portrait of Crash Barbosa.
Unfortunately, it is like on them to change it. Then there's also the problem that a lot of white people are completely unaware of racism. Like I call it blissful ignorance, like where it's willful, blissful ignorance. Like they're knowingly ignorant and they're happy to be. It's better than being in the trenches and losing family members over your beliefs. But like, fuck that shit. Like, that's why I say it's like up to white people to fix it, because nobody wants to have a conversation that makes their relatives or their, friends or their boss uncomfortable. But like, if those conversations make anybody you consider to be close to you uncomfortable, you shouldn't be anywhere near that person, or you're part of the problem too.
So what would you say to, say, a white person who says, oh, well, I don't see color?
That's the most racist thing you can say, because you obviously do if you just said it. You know what I mean? Like if you're like, oh, I'm colorblind, it's like, are you? Like, or did you just say you I mean, like, honestly, like, that's a statement everybody's like guilty of making, because it's like, you don't think about what it means. It's the same way I used to call black people African American, like when I was young, because I thought that was like the right thing to say. Like, that's not. Like, it implies lesser citizenship. It's a fucking crazy thing to call politically correct. Like, no, like, they've been here longer than like 99% of white people. Like, unless people's family came on the Mayflower, black people have been here longer. Like, it's like against their will. Like, so it's like, that shit's crazy to me. Like that, that is just left out of our history books. Like,
I think the colorblind argument is such, I think it's terrible, honestly. Like
it's a cop out. It's like all lives matter to me. It's like, no, they don't. Like, it's like all lives would matter if all kids were being killed with no gun on them, and it was on the news and there was no indictment. But that's not happening. Like, it's only black kids that's happening to. So, like, I don't think all lives matter as much as I think right now black lives matter, because, like, that they're the only people who are being, like, perpetrated by the media to be full-blown villains just for having a pulse. Like, that shit's not okay. And it's really outdated. That's the worst part. It's like, this shit should have been... Like, we shouldn't even hear about this in our lifetime. Like, this was something that was allegedly dealt with, like, during the whole civil rights movement and everything. Right. But, like, I feel like a lot of white people just okie dokie. Like, a lot of white people that even fought for that cause, and genuinely cared about it, ended up settling for some bullshit so that they could say they did something important once. Like Joe Biden, like what has he really done for black people? Like nothing. But like when he was younger, like he used to like, you know, Bernie Sanders like used to get involved in civil rights activism. But like has he really done anything that suggests that he gives a shit since? No. Like
Bernie or Biden?
Both. Honestly, both. Like, Bernie had a black voter problem for a reason. It wasn't because people weren't listening to him. It was because he wasn't listening to them. Like, or at least he never gave them the impression he was or tried to. Like, Biden has a mysterious black voter support, like, that I don't even know where it comes from. Because he's running on the same platform as Hillary Clinton, who said super predator. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's racist as hell. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's like, okay, he was Barack Obama's vice president, but like, how much do we really know about Joe Biden besides he has a lot of secrets that he shouldn't have if he's running for president?
I have no faith. I have no faith in our system, dude.
I don't either. It's so sad to me because like I never did. You know me, bro. You've known me a long time. Like I've been repeating the same mantra since I was a child. Like that the system is fucking fucked. Like this can't work. You know. Like but like a lot of people like always wanted to believe like but things will change the right way, the normal way. And like, is that really what happens? Like, I don't know. It's like progressives that I know who are really amped about, you know, elective everything, like it being fixed through general elections and grassroots funding. Like they're seeing what's going on now, and they're literally like, for the first time, I feel like in their lives, like feel like the system can't be fixed. And it's like, of course it can't. Like there's no millennials in government. There's not even millennials in the public sector, let alone elected positions, like outside of AOC, who isn't really a good look for anyone who's progressive. Like, not to say her politics are wrong, but like the way she brings issues to the attention of America is wrong. Like she's no better than Trump when it comes to the fact that she's a populist at the end of the day. So it's like the politicians who are populists are dangerous because they pay people to have their finger on the pulse of their voter base, and they say whatever is going to be popular. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. You know, like, and that's the problem, like, because that can go so many different ways. Like, Donald Trump will do whatever is popular to his base. So, like, if that means building a wall, whether he can build it or not, that's something he's going to say. So it's like AOC is the other side of that same coin, where she wants to talk about things that are not reality, but they sound good. They'll get media coverage, and that's another problem, is that like policy doesn't get covered by the media, like sound bites do. And like policy does get coverage if it's scandalous, like if there's anything like sexy about it, you know, or anything weird about it. But like, you know, you never see anyone pushing for our public education system to be revamped like on the news, because that's not a hot topic. It doesn't sound cool. Like, but when you hear some racist shit, it's on the news. When you hear some like communist shit, it's on the news because it's controversial and it's getting clicks, it's getting views, whether it's from that person's base or from their opposition, it's getting attention. And that's the problem with a for-profit media system too. Like the fact that our news is a profit based thing is not good. Like that means they're more incentivized to get commercial money than they are to get like any kind of like actual, you know, love from their voters.
So what can the average citizen do? I mean, can we do anything as individuals?
Yeah, that's the problem. The only reason the system is broken is because the people who know it's broken aren't doing anything, including myself to a high degree. I'm doing a lot, but only as much as I can do from LA. I'm starting to realize more and more that like I really should run for House and live in DC. Like if I really am about everything I'm saying. Because like right now I'm just a kid in LA like everybody else. I'm like every other weak ass public figure that lives in LA and throws stones at the castle that's 3,000 miles from here. You know what I mean? It's like that doesn't get anybody anywhere. Like having an opinion that's correct is good, and it may be a good influence on voters, but like that's still not going to change anything until the people that they can vote for change. Like, I mean, I looked at Ventura County's closing midterm ballots, and it was like most of the people that won a city council seat again, or like most incumbent, everything in Ventura County had literally nobody run against them. And by nobody, I don't mean like a nobody, I mean literally nobody. Like they were the only name on the ballot and still failed to get more than 70% of the vote. Like that blows my mind. It's like that means 100% of the voters saw you as the only option and 30% skipped it. Like that's crazy. Like they just said, I'm not voting for that. Like, but I'm not, that to me is crazy. Like, I don't understand how bad you have to be at life for that to be your life. But then it's like you have to look at the logistics of how much it really takes to win a city council seat. Like in Thousand Oaks, like you don't need more than 50 votes, like total, to win a city council position. But like somehow people are strangleholding these positions, and it's like they won with a total of 51 casted ballots. Like how hard is it to get 51 people to the polls? Like not hard. So, like, if you're just like some rich person that has their buddies coming to vote, like, then yeah, you have like a never-ending city council position or mayor position in Thousand Oaks or Polk Park or like even Camarillo, Ventura. Like, there's no oversight there. Like the DA of Ventura County has been unopposed the last 3 elections. Not one person even dared put their name on a ballot against him. So it's like, that's crazy considering the guy is a fascist. Like Totem's a scumbag, dude. And he like has like, he owns part of the Ventura County Star, which is the only media he's actually accountable to. And that's by design. Like that's why they move LA cases out of, they move, like OJ was tried in Ventura County Superior Courthouse because they didn't want the media to be able to run the entire show. Like that says a lot. Like when a county courthouse is used by other counties to deflect accountability, like that's insane to me. So it's like, that shows how really crooked it can get over there. And I'm not saying LA isn't crooked. It's hella crooked.
Yeah, everywhere. Like, you're just as an example.
They know how, but it's funny because it's like even crooked ass LA knows if they're getting up to extra dirty shit, like they got to bring it to Ventura County.
Right. So where do you get your info? I mean, it seems like
I literally get my info from everywhere. Like I get my info from Fox, I get it from CNN, and I hate both of them. And then I get it from the Independent, and then I get it from every journalist in between. I get it from Politico. Like so, it's like I'm an equal opportunity information dude. Like I'll take information from any source, but I won't believe it's a fact until I verify it. So
I mean, that's scholarship. That's what scholarship is.
Honestly, it's just yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? But like, I feel like people have gotten comfortable just thinking they're being told the truth if it's on like CNN, because who would dare be on CNN lying to the American people, right? And like that's not the case anymore. Like people now will lie to Congress and go to war like online, and like they won't be held accountable by anybody, and that's troubling. Like it's really troubling to me that that's the norm now, is that like people are overriding every check and balance on executive or legislative branches of government. Like these systems of checks and balances don't exist like when everything's partisan. So like how much do we have in the form of checks or balances when like the judicial branch is appointed by only the GOP? Like then you're fucked.
Yeah, you need to get your ass to DC.
I know. Like I give myself a problem every day about it. Like I'm like lazy. I should be like on the hill, and it's like realistically, it doesn't mean I'm lazy. It means like honestly, it means that progressives won't even put their machine of politics behind me because they're afraid of my beliefs too. Like progressives aren't that progressive. Like start talking about reparations around progressives, they stop being progressive fast. I mean, like real fast, they're like, whoa. It's like, that will never be me. Like I'm registered nonpartisan. Like I would never be a member of a political party because to me, that's treason. It's like, If I'm a Republican, I'm not an American. If I'm a Democrat, I'm not an American. Like, if I'm an American, I'm not a partisan voter or a representative. Like, I can't represent the people of the United States or speak for them if I'm doing it from a partisan group. Like, because then I'm marginalizing who I can and can't speak for at a level that, to me at least, is too big of a sacrifice to make to get some of my concessions met that I want. Like, and that's like, I feel like the problem is politicians are way too willing to settle just to have power and to get some of the things they want to get done. And it's like, that's not how shit works. Like, it's how it works, but it's not how it should work. Like, no one should worry about getting reelected to office if they got voted out because of doing the right thing. You know, like, people could learn from Jimmy Carter when we talk about that. You know, it's like Jimmy Carter like took that stage left exit from the White House like with the lowest approval rating ever because he was trying to do the right thing.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
he was a good president.
But at the time he wasn't, because he was selling long-term America to a short-term voter base. You know, it's like he's like, I'm gonna create a gas shortage to save our economy, and people are like, what the fuck? We're gonna wait in line at the gas station and only be allowed to get gas like based on alphabetical order, like certain days a week. Like, and he was like, yeah, but our economy literally depends on it. And people were like, fuck that. And then in comes Ronald Reagan talking about this trickle down shit that should have sounded bad from the get, you know? And people were like, trickle down sounds good to me. Like, what?
Yeah.
Trickle down economics? Like, did no one caught the key word being trickle? Like, he didn't say like pouring down. He said trickle down, you know? Like, there was no promise of like waterfalls of gold going to the hood at all. Like, there was a trickle of money coming from the elite and maybe making it to the public sector, let alone to the hood. You know what I mean? Like, that's what trickle means. Like, it means it barely gets there. It's like Chinese water torture. Like, that wasn't a hot thing to say, you know, and people are out there, trickle down economics. It was great. No, it wasn't. It was the most blatantly fucked up thing anyone's ever said, trying to make it sound like it was for the betterment of America. Like,
fuck that.
Since there's other bad people, but like, not recently. Like, Birth of a Nation is a disgrace to the country as a film, and like the president viewed it at the White House in a private screening at the time. I think it was Teddy Roosevelt. So it's like, that's really bad. But like, that's really bad. You know what I mean? Like, that is the most racist propaganda I've ever seen. That's called a film? That's called art? Like, what the fuck? Like, that's not art. That's like a KKK, like, recruit. Like, that looks like the army commercials for the KKK. You know what I mean? It's like, watch an army commercial and then watch like a clip of Birth of a Nation, and it's like, holy shit. Like, they're really trying to tell people, like, defend your daughters and wives from these minority groups that we just allowed into our society without being held under gunpoint. Like, what the fuck? How the fuck is that not anything? Like, how the fuck has the KKK not gotten an official terrorist designation? That's what I want to know. Like, they define the word terrorism every day they leave their homes. And it's like, you know, like, they're out there with Confederate flag. That's terrorism. They've got guns, they've got privilege, and they've got money. And then they go around and they terrorize like minorities for being minorities. Like, that's terrorism. But no, there's too many politicians who are card carrying KKK members, so no one's going to designate them as a terrorist. When it's like, if we're going to do drone strikes anywhere and we're going to say it's for freedom, we should start with the KKK. Like, that's who should be getting hit with the drone strike first, them and their kids. Like, that might kill the problem right away. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really pass your ideas down to your fucked up ass family if they're all in a fucking casket via the predator.
So I got a really good picture of your politics. I'm wondering how you got here. So here's what I mean by that. How old are you? What are you, 30 years old? You're my age?
Yeah.
So I was listening to some of your songs earlier, and you have a song called Drunk.
And you say some...
Which is actually against big alcohol, though. Like, the whole song is literally my experience dealing with people who had a problem with alcohol. Not my problem. Like, I don't have an alcohol problem as much as I've had problems with anything else. And, like, I still wouldn't say I've had real problems like that compared to people I know who, like, have really had to go to rehab in and out their whole lives. Like,
so you didn't have a problem before? Is that what you're saying?
No, and especially not with drinking. Like, I mean, I was never a drinker. Like, I was definitely more of somebody that, like, when I was, like, not even 21, like, I had drug problems, like, that I quit real young. Like, and then, like, mom growing up was that drunk all the time where, like, I had to explain to people why my mom was asleep, you know, on stairs at a public event, and then like, I mean, like, I've been paid by Budweiser, I've been paid by big alcohol for campaigns or for advertising at a show. Like, I've worn a fucking Monster Energy like necklace because I got, like, you know, I've worn a press pass with like the wrong logos on it because they paid for my fucking plane ticket before. Like, but like, I'll put it this way, like, I wouldn't ever take Coca-Cola money because I know what Coca-Cola does in other countries with drinking water and third world labor. Like, Coca-Cola doesn't even know what I'm talking about when their reps talk to me about like Coca-Cola and stuff. I'm like, what? No, like, have you listened to my music? Like, I'm not a hypocrite, and I'm sure as fuck not taking money from your company. And they're like, what do we do that's against your policy? I'm like, what? Like, you're not aware of the drinking water? And like, their fucking sales reps aren't. They're like, what do you mean? Like, the song, we have drinking water? I'm like, a monopoly on the world's drinking water. You guys have it. Yeah, you didn't know?
Your drunk song then is more of like a satire. Is that what you're saying?
It's a tragedy. That's what it is. It's not even a satire. It's literally a tragedy. I guess you could say the chorus is satire because it is, but it's like more of a tragic comedy than it is satire, where, like, you know, it's like alcohol and bottles. But like, what I'm saying is, like, it's lethal, it's toxic. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I say that right away in the chorus, but it sounds cool. So no one really knows that. Like, they're like, oh, you made a song called Drunk. And like you said, most people don't listen to lyrics. They just hear songs. So they're like, word, I'm going to listen to this when I get drunk. And it's like, that's not what I did. That's not what I made the song for.
Well, because the video... Like, the video is interesting because the setting is a schoolyard, and I'm curious about that. I'm wondering if that was on purpose or that was
was intentional. That's where I went to elementary school, and I grew up in that neighborhood because that was right by Will's house, and you know, I grew up a block away from Will. And it's like, so like, I was in the Greenbelt we all used to chill in. And like, so that was basically the reason I filmed it there. I did that very intentionally because that's where all my alcohol related trauma started, was with my mom, was with my friends, was with, you know, like, that's where all of the problems that I observed with alcohol that affected my life, not because I drank it, but because people around me did. And like, I was basically making a statement that this is insane that this shit's legal when other shit isn't, like weed. Like, but there's even more severe examples. Like, I mean, there really isn't a controlled substance that statistically kills more people than alcohol every year in America. There isn't. So it's like it's like everything, like liver disease. If you add every alcohol related death up to numbers for any drug, anything, like, alcohol kills more people a year, and it definitely kills more civilians a year. Like, the alcohol kills way more people who don't drink it than anything. Like, you don't hear about people, like, you know, falling asleep on pills and killing a family, but you hear about drunk drivers doing that shit. So it's
So the alcohol. So you've never had like an alcohol problem? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody would say that, but like, I would definitely say that. Like, I cap out, like, we've never really got drunk together because I don't really get drunk, but like, you're not really a drinker either, from what I remember, which is why you probably didn't notice. I'll drink a few beers. That's what I was about to say. Like, I can't drink more than 6 beers, like, physically, you know what I mean? I just can't. Like, I start to feel like, because it's poison, dude. Like, I know it is. And so it's like, my body, like, once it starts to feel like it's getting poisoned, like, I'm like, You know, like I start to think about like, this isn't good. Like, I feel like I could get a cold sweat or something in the next 3 hours. Like, I should probably have some water, you know, like, and everyone else will just drink until they're past, like, because that's the other problem with alcohol is like, if you're drinking beer, especially, you know, it's like you can sip on beers and then like you won't even realize how much you've drank until like you're 2 drinks late on realizing that, you know, like shots are worse. Like, so it's like, you know, I was never one of those people that drank more than a few beers at a social setting. Yeah. Like, and I don't even drink at every social setting I go to because like I don't like to be affected by it like in a cognizant way where it's like, you know, my cognitive abilities are all fucked up because I'm drunk, like, because that's a bad look. You know, like it's a sloppy look. It was always a sloppy look to me, but like not so much in high school, but it was after high school, like, because then I saw my homies that like, you know, were in frats and I was like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, that's not tight. Like that's some really white shit to be doing, like keg stands and shit. No, like that's not me, you know. Like, and so yeah, that shit's crazy. So yeah, that song is literally like that was intentional. Like I actually went to the source of like where alcoholism like affected me. Like when I was 8, like I say in that, like where I'm like, you know, I was scared and my mom was passed out, and I was like 8. Like I say that shit in the song, like. And it's like, I'm like, I'm still scared like I was at 8 years old. Like, the worst thing for me is being around alcoholics, like, especially when you love people and you can't do shit to stop it. Like, you know, it's like, because it's, that's a fact. And it's like, so that was intentional.
Yeah, no, I like the video. I watched a few of your videos, and then, so something else surprised me. Your gritty video.
That video shouldn't be online, okay? For the record, that video from when I was 19, and that's on YouTube without my permission.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's on YouTube without my permission. And
can you describe what's in that video?
To be signed to.
Or is that something you don't like to talk about?
I mean, I don't like. Honestly, I'll talk about it. In that video, that was what's it called? Like everyone thinks I was doing like coke, and it was fucking 2CE.
What was it? What's that?
2CE. It's like one of those research chemicals from Canada, like that. They're like synthetic psychedelics.
Oh, no kidding. Well, what is it? Yeah. What does it make you feel like? It gives you like a trippy high or what?
It's like the same. It's kind of like acid. It's the same thing as like acid, but it's like, you know, synthesized in like biolabs, like in Canada or whatever. Like, I don't know. I haven't heard of anyone doing research chemicals in a while, but that was back when like 2CI, 2CE, like all
and
that
you,
was just
you were doing it though. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I had buddies that were like, you know, they had like a research degree or like a research license because they were like, you know, chemistry majors or whatever. So like they would just order it and like use it responsibly if there's such a thing. Wow. But there is a responsible microdose level. I wouldn't have been doing no music video and having people mistake it for some designer drug like cocaine and like, look, like on acid, I probably couldn't be in a music video, let alone my own music video. You know what I mean? Like that would be a little bit much. But so like, you know, that was like a microdose that I was mostly that was in the video from what I remember from that night. Like that was mostly in the video because of the fact that like that lit old school like Corvette was there, and we wanted that to be in the video, and I didn't feel like driving. So like that was more what happened. It was kind of like, we're gonna shoot a music video randomly at a house party, like on the beach, you know, and like I was like, okay, I guess, and like that shouldn't be online because like that's not even like, I don't even support anything I rap about in that song.
I mean,
that's back when I was.
You can probably get.
Well, I tried. YouTube won't do anything until I mean, no, I didn't try that hard. I haven't sent them I haven't sent them anything with like a lawyer's legal notarized on it, and I could, like, I've thought about it. I'm going to. I only recently saw that it was online. It was only recently put back online, like I think in the last 4 or 6 months. So that's weird.
Oh, wow.
Like and it's weird because I know the dude who uploaded it, and like,
you can't talk to him. Like, dude, take it down.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's like not cool with me anymore. So to me, it's like, homie, what are you doing? Like we're not cool, and you have music videos with me on your channel. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's the only reason that I haven't put an official cease and desist on that yet, is because it's like, I wanted to talk to him about it, but it's like, no, I really don't care. Like, it's like, I can't, there's nothing to say. Like, it's like, I asked YouTube to remove it. I clearly proved that that was me. My likeness was being used without my permission, and it wasn't on my channel. And they basically were like, "Cool."
Yeah, and they didn't do shit.
Well, they just didn't really respond to it. So I'm gonna have to send them like a formal cease and desist on it, and then they'll remove it for sure. But that shit pisses me off too, because people see that pop up and it's like, that's not even on my channel. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, and like, I was so young, but like, I look the same as I have since I was a kid. Like, literally, like, even when like that yearbook picture, it's like, if you took away my tattoos, like, I don't look that different. So it's like, it's hard to age me, you know? So it's like, I'm out here not aging. People aren't going to know how young I was and shit. It's like, shit. I mean, I wouldn't even care. It's funny, and it's like a decade old, you know, more. Like, but it's like,
without the information, people will draw false conclusions, basically.
Right, especially if that's like somehow the first thing someone ever saw that I did. That would break my heart almost. You know what I mean? Right. It would be like, that would be horrible. It's like, you're late to that party. Like, that was a party, but it was like 12 years ago. And like, it was a cool party to be at, but it's like, it's a party for people that are 18, like I was, you know?
Yeah. I was also wondering, you have a big following on Instagram. How did that happen? I mean, you have like what, 80,000, 80 something thousand followers?
I don't know the exact number, but I know it's in the 80s. But
how does that happen? I mean, everybody wonders that, you know, about
gradual. It happened really gradually for me. Like, I had it. I just went into beta people for Instagram. So it's like, not that I know how to use the platform anymore, like on their end, like I don't. Like, their APIs get updated like every single day and shit. Like, so but it's mostly because I was first. That's it. Like, and that's what I tell everybody, because a lot of like kids will hit me up, like Gen Z kids, 20-year-olds, whatever, you know, and they'll be like, how do I get a social media following? And I tell them, like, you kind of missed the boat. Like, there's a paywall now. You know what I mean? There's literally a paywall now. Now it's like, that's like asking somebody, how do I get a commercial on NBC? It's like, easy. You pay 20 grand to this guy and it happens. Like, you know, but like now that's how it is. But like, back then it wasn't. So people like are like, oh, how do I build an organic audience? And I'm like, what? Like, well, it depends how old your account is and like how many times people interacted with you. And they're like, oh, well, like I made it a year ago. I'm like, yeah, you're fine.
So you didn't like do anything fishy. You didn't like buy followers. You didn't like hack the system. It's organic.
No, I never did anything that fishy. I did like, I mean, I have a team that works for me with social media now. Like, but like, I don't stress them like a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I just keep them on hand for like when I have content to put out, so that it comes out like the way it needs to, so it gets any traction online. Like, it's like, know, like I'm really like, I know like all how to do that. Like, I can consult for anybody about like when to post, like how long in advance to schedule a post, if it's like a music video or whatever. But like, I really can't like, but like I'm just bad at doing the legwork, and especially if I don't have to, you know. So it's like, I do have a guy I've worked with for like at least 8 years now, who's like, you know, a social media expert. That's what he does for a living. He works for a bunch of major labels. He used to work for Trump before he was president. Like, he works for a lot of people, and like, me and him are cool. So he doesn't charge me what he charges Donald Trump.
And well, you don't even really do too much on your page. I mean, I think you have like
my stories are lit though. That's why I deleted a lot of my pictures too, that were like, in my opinion, representing like stuff from like, because that account's so old. You know what I mean? Like, I had like 70 something posts at least on it, like probably more. It was like closer to 100 something, like 150. Like, I had way more, and then like I started toning down what I posted. Because it was just like, okay, like, I'm only going to put stuff that I like actually put through like, you know, some kind of like legitimate professional service, or it's going to look bad. Like, I have too much high quality content to just throw up random low quality content at this point.
Right.
That's my own fault. But like now I can't really lower that bar, but I can on stories. So like that's what I love about Instagram is I like mostly use it like Twitter, dude. I just use stories and like people love it. Like I have like when I look at like my story account views and everything, it's like I do have like mad like verified accounts. Like I have like athletes that I actually watch, like watching my stories, and I'm like, yo, that's lit. Like Immortal Technique followed me on Instagram like a month ago. Yeah, and I didn't even know he had an Instagram. Like, because I had tried to look for his Instagram before, and like there were like a few, but none of them were verified at the time. And I was like, whatever. And that was a few years ago. And then like I saw his verified page and I messaged him like, oh, that's what's up, because he was doing some cool charity thing. And then like he like looked at my stuff and was like, yeah, I actually like what you're about, blah, blah, blah. And then like it was funny because I took a screenshot of it for my like 16-year-old self, like where it was like Immortal Technique followed you and it said, do you want to follow back? And I was like, yes. You know what I mean? Like I was like, yes. And of course I followed back, you know, but I was like, I had to get a picture of that follow back option first. It's like, and like, I have like people with way more followers that follow me, but like, you know, that those people weren't special to me when I was a kid, or they weren't formulating any of my ideology. Like Immortal Technique was, for better or worse. Like, and he wasn't really a nice guy when I met him. And I told him that too on Instagram. And I talked to him. Yeah, I met him at the Ventura Theater when he performed. Me and Will went and seen him. Me and Will went and saw him live, and I went to get his autograph, dude, and he told me he didn't fuck with white people. And I was like 17, and I was like, what the fuck, homie? Like, you're 5'2". Like, let's talk about it, you know? And like, he didn't want it, obviously. And like, I mentioned that to him. I was like, dude, like, you were such a fucking asshole to me when I met you. Like, it's wild, like, that you like what I'm doing. Like, because you really didn't like who I was, like, or like what you thought I was, like when I was younger. And he was like, dude, I'm sorry about that. Like, I don't remember. I probably had a long night. I'm like, you did. And like, now that I'm a political activist, like, I know how stressful that really is. But like, I'm just saying, bro, I've never cussed out no minors, you know?
Yeah. So let's see. I got a few more questions for you. These are off topic, but just I kind of like to ask these sort of zingers. Zingers. So what do you are you afraid of anything? Just like generally speaking?
My answer to that is usually no, but like then I like reflect on my answer and then I interrupt myself and explaining why, and I realize the answer is yeah, but like myself is the answer to that.
You're afraid of yourself?
For sure, because like I'm the only person who's ever legitimately been able to stop me or hurt me in life, anything. Like, and I've been in some sticky situations, but like at the end of the day, it was like, it's always, am I gonna be successful or am I gonna fuck that up at the last minute? Because like I'm low key not really trying to be as successful as people want me to be. Like that's definitely a constant in my life. Like that is less so now. But it was like throughout my 20s, that was a reoccurring theme, you know, it was like I was the only one that could stop me. And I was happy to stop myself because I really, at the end of the day, like didn't want like the responsibility and all that would have came with like doing anything the way I needed to do it completely and fully, finishing it and not, you know, just skipping a shortcut or whatever, you know, and it's like, that's on me. So like the same thing when it comes to like mental illness, it's like, I'm afraid of myself because it's like, I'm the only person that can like really fuck up my own, you know, perspective and the way I feel every day. So like, that's really the only thing I'm afraid of. I guess like I'm also afraid of like people I love dying. But like that's something everyone's afraid of, so that's like your corny answer. You know what I mean? Being like, I'm worried like my mom or my like will die in a car accident, or I'm worried my dog will like get sick. Of course, I'm worried about those things, but like so is everybody. Like that's not a fear; that's a human instinct.
So what do you want out of this life? Or you know, I know you've probably accomplished a lot of things. What do you want out of this life?
like I just want to make the world a better. I think that's one thing I think I've been consistent with in my life is that I've just wanted to make the world a better place, like than the world I grew up in. And like I don't want like if I could like if I could like accomplish one thing, like it doesn't matter what it looks like externally. Like, but if I have one thing like I feel like I need to accomplish, it's like I need to kill all of the fucking crooked ideas. Like I want accountability from more people. I want people to not lie. Like I want to change like basic societal values and stuff. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to like leave here and be like, oh yeah, you know, I did everything I could. It's like, no, I didn't. Like I at an early age saw all of these problems formulating as future problems, and I was hella concerned. And like a lot of people didn't share my concern. A lot of those same people do now. And so it's like, I feel like that's really all I'm here to do is to make the world a better place and a more fair place. Like, cause this shit's gotten out of control. If I was born in a different time, like you might have caught me, you know, saying like, if I'm born to do one thing, it's to make sure the free market is always the free market. Back when that shit was like not a lie and it wasn't monopolized up the extent it is now. Like, but that's not the time I live in. The time I live in is like the baby boomers like left, you know, they left basically like a mass grave of America's problems for us to dig up and decide whether we're going to acknowledge they happened or not. And then from there, decide, are we going to make them right? And is anyone going to take accountability, or are we going to continue to delete history every 10 years so it continues to repeat itself? Yeah, that's the biggest problem in America. Like if you look at a history book, nothing's happened. Like I'm talking about like an approved history book for school. You know, it's like according to history, nothing's happened since we won World War II. And like they don't even accurately describe how we behaved in World War II. So it's like without mentioning GM's sale of tanks to the Nazis, like you didn't mention America's full involvement in World War II. Like that's the truth. Like until you mentioned that RKO Films, which at the time was, you know, the biggest film production company in the world and like owned the Chinese theater, like they weren't even releasing movies unless they cleared them with Hitler during the war while we were still neutral, even after that in a lot of cases, because we didn't want to lose our German market for film. Like that is fucking fucked, dude. So like that's not
that's fucked.
Though. And that needs to be mentioned, you know, like that, like people who are like about the power of the dollar over like power of the people, fuck those people. Like the dollar doesn't work without people. That's just a fact. So like even like the most capitalist person in the world should see that it's apparent that their dollar won't be worth anything if other people's dollar isn't worth anything. So like that's the biggest problem right now is that racism, classism, but really all of that starts under the umbrella of accountability and like bold-faced lies that like people tell either knowingly or even worse unknowingly because they don't know the truth, but like somehow they have this position where they're telling the truth. Like that's to me the scariest thing is when like these experts get on TV and they're academics, like they haven't seen information that they haven't been, you know, compartmentalized into seeing. And so it's like, how can you speak from a, you know, nonpartisan like viewpoint if you were educated in liberal schools and you've never had a conversation with anybody? Like if you're Anderson Cooper, have you really ever had a conversation with Rush Limbaugh? You know what I mean? I'm not saying I want to have a conversation with Rush Limbaugh. I'm just saying everybody needs to have conversations with each other if anything's going to change. But like this whole, like, let's put up a wall in between two sides of America and try to kill each other over it isn't going to change anything. Like it, but it is going to give corporations and crooked politicians a wide berth of not needing accountability while the rest of America blames each other. And the people who are doing this shit to us are just laughing, collecting the paycheck.
Right. Yeah. Well, Crash, you know, you're I don't know you that well, so I'm happy to say that you're a lot more insightful than I ever knew. I like that you care about these subjects, that you want to change the world. I have just one more question for you. Okay. Here it is. Crash Barbosa. Who the hell are you?
Just Crash Barbosa.
What do you want people to know about you?
That like looks can be deceiving for sure. That's like what I would want people to know, like off bat, is that like, a lot of people look at me and they just see someone with tattoos that like looks cool, and like they write it off as that's like where my value to society like kind of starts and ends. And it's like not really, actually. Like if I was like really doing all of that and exploiting like the things that are appearance based about me, like then I would be like in a different position in society, and like it wouldn't be good, but like people would think it was way cooler. Like, but since I don't want to compromise my own belief system in what I think is right and what I think is wrong, like I've taken hits for that, and that it's not like I didn't know I was going to take those hits. I knew, like I was told, I was advised, I had executives tell me, if you do this, this won't happen for you, and that's not good for anybody, including you. And I'm like, okay, but it's really bad for me and really good for everybody else if I do the other thing. Like it's not going to be good for me either. I'm just going to have more money and more media exposure. My voice will be worthless because at that point I'll be a hypocrite, like, or I'll just be another talking head. Like that's not what I want to do. Like, so it's like, I think that's a common thing that like, so yeah, like if that you ask like who I am, that's who I am. I'm just me. Like I've never even tried being anything else besides just who I am. Like I've been very consistent in like character since I was a kid, literally. Like I got suspended from elementary school for like, illegally campaigning like on a presidential election. You know what I mean? Like I was in first grade telling kids like that if their parents voted for Bob Dole, that I knew about it, and I had a voting like counter at my house, and like we were gonna have problems. Like that's wild, So I feel like that's just who I've always been. Which, like, in a way, I'm blessed, like, that I never really had to go, like, soul searching like that. But it's also a burden. But, like, that's, at the end of the day, who I am. Like, I wouldn't really compare myself to, like, anybody. There's people with similar beliefs to me that, like, I have read their, like, theses and whatnot. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you have a lot of the same beliefs. I was like, Noam Chomsky, And it's like, yeah, but like at the same time, Noam Chomsky was a draft dodger, which like I wouldn't have done no matter what, just out of principle. Like Noam Chomsky like is a pacifist, which I'm far from. Like that would be like somebody telling Malcolm X, him and Martin Luther King have a ton in common. Like that would have pissed him the fuck off. Like he would have been like, what? No, like I actually don't believe anything's gonna change unless like I'm militant about it, because like America doesn't give a shit if people are talking. They're just going to send in the riot police anyway. Like they're going to respond violently to peaceful protest. So like that's how he felt about things. Like I don't think people should take violence against the government, but I don't think people should just go full-blown pacifist with like all of society. Like fuck that shit. If I see someone being like racist as fuck, like to somebody in public, like I feel like it's my civic duty to like get involved, like, and a lot of people are just like, nah, and I'm like, really? Like really though? Like I could have sworn that's kind of what you do. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, but, Crash, I appreciate you being so honest and open. I'm happy to say you're a lot more insightful than I ever knew. I think we should do this again sometime.
Yeah, I'm completely down. Always. It was great talking to you. It always was. I always liked you. Like, I mean, we never hung out like all the time. I was closer with Gio and like Will. I kind of knew you more through them, but like I always really enjoyed your company. Yeah, and Rob and everything, Like, but like I always really enjoyed your company even in high school and everything. Like I went to your guys' shows and everything, like Forgotten Society was lit. I always tell people about that. Like,
all right, Crash. Thank you for tuning in. Let's do it again sometime. I appreciate it.
All right, cool. I'm down.
Yep.
I appreciate you. Thanks so much, man. Have a great week and stay safe. Stay home. I know it's like tough, but just do it because I think they're giving tickets, like fuck that.
Yeah. You stay safe too, brother. Peace.
All right, man. All right. Peace.